Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, and today I am sharing an art journal page where I just wanted to play. Basically, I really wanted to create something. So I created this art journal page. It's in my square art journal, and I really wanted to play with colour and acrylics and some mark making stamps that I have recently purchased, and really wanted to just add some vibrancy into my creativity. So I have pre-gessoed one of my pages in white gesso, and now I'm using just some old book paper that I have been somebody donated it to me very generously and I love it. So all different bits of magazine clippings and some old newspaper clippings. I am tearing it randomly. Now, because this paper is quite old, it tends to take a mind of its own when it tears, which I kind of really love. So I have applied it with some gel medium, and now I'm going to dry it completely because now I want to add some colour. So I decided to only do one side of my art journal pages. So I just wanted it to be on one side because I didn't want to feel overwhelmed by the actual amount that I'd have to paint. I'm using a mix of Dina Wakley and Dylusions paints. The brighter tones are the Dylusions. And then when I go in to use some of the muted tones, this is the Dina Wakley paints. I decided I wanted to make sort of like a patchwork vibe with the colours. So I'm creating rectangles and squares basically, and trying to... I sort of started off by working in the threes, but I think it eventually... I just add colour wherever I felt that it might have needed a little bit of colour. So I started with the dark colours first, and I dried them as much as possible so that my lighter colours that I start to apply don't pick up the dark colours. So now I'm going in again with another colour, again doing this rectangular or square painting. This is where I start to overlap my colours onto one another. The great thing about the paints was that you could still see the book paper underneath in pockets, which I found really cool. And the fact that part of the paper that I chose had art pieces written in it was pretty cool. So I didn't really want to cover it too much. And I also wasn't worried about whether or not I would see some brush strokes. As you will see when I add the yellow, you will see brush strokes, and I kind of figured, you know what, that's okay because that's just part of the fun. So again, I'm starting to overlap some of my original colours and just going over them as neatly as possible. Again, not worry about the brush strokes, but I wanted them to be a fairly decent shape. Not too wavy. I wanted them to actually look like they were painted into a shape and not just blobbed on there. And now we're going in with our bright element. I really wasn't sure what colour, but I thought yellow is always a friendly colour. And it's pretty cheery too. So obviously yellow was a little bit more transparent, which was kind of cool because it meant that you could see some of the other colours underneath it. And you could also see my words. So as you can see, I was not fussed by still seeing brush strokes. As you can see in that middle one, you can still see them. And I kind of loved the imperfection of that. I really liked the fact that it didn't matter. I was just getting paint on there. I just didn't care. Next, I've grabbed some white paint and a palette knife, and I'm just adding... basically I'm just smearing a little bit of white acrylic over it just to sort of bring all the colours together. And some of my paint was a little bit wet still, so when I added the white it would pick it up and it sort of changed the colour of the pinks. Again, I didn't mind because it just added to the character. Now I've grabbed my black paint pen and I'm creating those boxes. So I kind of wanted to then start making these look more like patchworks, and added these black scribble lines to create that patchwork effect. I then drew around the border as well, and it was still a little bit wet, so it smudged a bit, so I just dried it and then I just drew back over it. So we can now see the formation of the patchwork. I recently got these mark making stamps and I was a bit scared of how to use them, still am, but I kind of really loved how they turned out. I didn't have to draw them, didn't have to think about it too much. It really did add some character to the page, kind of funked it right up, so I really quite liked that. So these were I think they're called like noughts and crosses or something, and then I've got the lines. So it was quick, it made it really fast to add stamped images. They were big. I'm not used to stamping with big stamps, so it was kind of really fun to play with. Definitely be playing with them again. I don't know in what form, but this was pretty cool. I'm just drying off my ink and everything else just to make sure that everything is actually dry, because it can stay a bit wet. Now I did get my white pen out, but it was too fine. It was a fine line. So I started to get my Posca out, but it just didn't seem to be working. So I had to really get it started and get that paint flowing through the nib of the marker. As you can see now it's working, and I just thought I'd enhance some of those scribbles with my own. So it just enhances it a little bit, also softens the black a little bit. But I left the line one just as it is, and then I created a border with the white as well, went over the black, did my own mark making, drawing some little circles, and again I'm just going to dry it because it was very wet when I got it activated. Now I've been playing around with these really cool Tim Holtz engraving elements, and I thought I'd pick some really random ones because even though they're slightly vintage, I figured it would go kind of cool, or I thought it would go with the funky background. So I'm just using some Copic markers to add a little bit of colour just to match the background. Because they are a shiny finish, the alcohol sits on top of them and doesn't smudge, which is awesome. So I'm just adding a little bit of colour with some Copic markers. I didn't want to use too much colour because I still wanted them to pop out of the page a little bit. And I left a few elements still black and white. I did go over the hand and the umbrella, and I think all of the elements except the flower with a black ink blending tool, just so that then that again gave it a bit of dimension off the page. Accidentally pushed the book down, so I'm sorry about not being able to see just down the bottom. So I foam taped up the hand, I've glued the flower and the umbrella flat to the page, and I foam taped the butterfly or moth up as well so that they are dimensional. And I have just grabbed my fine line pen and gone around the word art on that piece of newspaper that was down first so that it really showcased it a little bit. And I'm using a couple of stickers from Studio Light, Art by Marlene quotes and stickers, and I also used one from the Small Talk Ideology pack. Mixed it up a little bit. I drew little basic borders around my titles. And then I flicked a little bit of white splash ink over it, and my page was finished. Bright, slightly eccentric, slightly funky. Hopefully you like it and it's inspired you a little bit. I did have lots of fun. I'm still not 100% sure of it. I love the colour concept, and I think what I'll do is I'll try it again and modify it again. But I liked the eclectic feel that this gave, and my life tends to be fairly eclectic, so I had lots of fun adding colour and just pieces and trying out new things. For me, this is very bright, this is very abstract, and I'm slowly vibing it. I hope you all feel the vibe too, and you are a little bit inspired by it for this Wednesday, or whenever you watch it, whatever day of the week it is. And I will see you all soon when I just want to create. Thanks for joining me. See ya.